Hey there you guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to my channel if you are new. If you are new, hi, I'm Abigail. I make Christian videos every week to help you guys to let the truth be told over your guys' lives. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the greatest, the most special, the best love story of all time. You guys could have heard this in church, you guys could have heard it from a friend. But today, I'm hopefully going to be sharing it maybe in a new perspective, and I pray that your guys' hearts will be open to listening to what I have to say. Without any more further ado, let's just go ahead and jump right into it. So, if we're going to talk about the greatest love story, it's honestly, like, I could talk for hours and hours and hours about it. Don't worry, I'm not going to do so. But the story has so many different avenues, but I'm really going to sum it up in the most simplest form. We have to start at the beginning. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Meaning that God, it was just God and God alone, and that was it in the beginning. He decided to create a universe. He decided to create a world. He decided to create you and me. Now, the one thing that we have to take note here is that he didn't need us. He was perfectly perfect and perfectly fine by himself. He didn't need to make us. He didn't have to make us, but he chose to make us. And so he created you and I. He created Adam and Eve, and this is the very start of the world. Out of his love for human and out of his love for us, he gave us the decision to make whether or not we were going to choose sin. And in the garden, Adam and Eve chose to sin. They chose to disobey God. Now, some people might say, how is that love if he knew that they were already going to sin? It was love because he didn't treat them like as though they were robots. He didn't make them in a way that they would do every single thing God said they gave. He gave us free will. He gave us the decision to make. They chose to make themselves and to make their own desires the masters of their lives. And we were born into that. We have all fallen, and we have all fallen short against the glory of God. And so fast forward, I don't know how exactly many years, I'll put it up here of how many years exactly it was, or an estimate. All of the people, they wanted to be good enough. They wanted to keep trying to measure up. Then God gave Moses the 10 Commandments, other known as the moral law. You should not lie, you should not steal, you should not commit adultery, you should not murder, all of these list upon list of rules. Now, the thing is that we tried and we tried and we tried and we tried and we tried, and we could never live up to those standards. None of us, even in today's time, if we were to try, we would never be able to do it. And back then, they had the exact same problem. And God saw all of this. Like, he sees all of this hurting, and he sees all of this. He sees all of these people trying to be good enough, trying and trying and trying. And the only problem here is that because we as people have chosen sin, we have chosen the desires of our flesh. If you don't know what desires of the flesh mean, it basically means that we have chosen to make ourselves the masters. We have chosen to follow ourselves, to trust in ourselves. We have chosen to turn away from God. Anything that we wanted, we would do. If we wanted to have sex, we would be doing it. If we wanted to be taking drugs, we would be doing it. If we wanted to lie, we would do it. If we wanted to steal, we could do it. That was all against God's law. That was against God's nature. And God literally, because of the nature and the holiness of God, he literally could not live in existence with us because of our sin. And if you would like to learn more about that and how we literally cannot live in the existence of God, I will put the link up here, and you guys can go and check it out because it is an awesome video and I totally recommend it. It literally talks about how, like, there's that separation, and I go so much more into detail about that, so you guys can watch that. God had to do something. He wanted to do something. He looked at these people and he wanted to be in relationship with them. But he couldn't because there was that sin there. That sin was just like this wall between us and God. And so he needed to make a way. And the only thing that he could do is to send his son into the world. And so that's exactly what he did. He sent his son into the world. God had promised the Israelites and the Jews that Jesus would at one point return. He prophesied that in many different verses in the Old Testament, and they were looking for this mega king, this warrior, this champion that was gonna come in and like turn the world upside down. They were expecting him to come in and to take charge over the Romans, and they were expecting this big buff guy. And that's not exactly what happened. Jesus was born into a city of Bethlehem. He was born of a virgin who gave birth to him in a stable that was meant for donkeys and goats and sheep and cows, and he was born into a feeding trough, or a manger, you might have heard. So Jesus goes from being this high power, high authoritative God who is up in, heaven, getting to spend time with his Father, and yet he comes down as man. He comes down and takes the form and likeness of man, yet he is still God. He is still all powerful, almighty, and all wonderful. He is God and man. And so he grows up and he lives out the perfect life to a T. He has the same temptations as man, but yet he knocks them like out of the way. He doesn't fall into them whatsoever. He was literally tempted by Satan, that Satan would give him the whole world if Jesus would just bow down to him. And Jesus didn't fall into that. Jesus didn't fall into that temptation whatsoever. And so when Jesus grows up, he lives this perfect life. He lives the life we never could have lived. He gave food to the poor. He helped and healed the sick. He rose people from the dead. He allowed the blind man to see. He made the lame walk. He performed all of these miraculous miracles. Jesus hung out with this. This is the part that like shakes me to the core. Jesus goes and hangs out with the people who in society would be the outcast. And this is one of the things I love about Jesus. He hung out with the outcasts. He hung out with the poor. He hung out with the people with special needs and loved on each and every one of them. And there was one thing in which the Pharisees absolutely hated. The Pharisees loved their control that they had. The Pharisees in religious law, they loved their control. They loved the authority that they had. And when Jesus claimed to be God, that shook them up. They made a plan, which in reality, God already knew it was going to happen because God knew it had to happen. But they made a plan that they were going to kill this man. This man who came into the world to save the world and to help people and to guide people to the truth, because Jesus wanted a relationship with them so badly. So I'm going to read a little portion of what exactly they did to him. It says here in Mark chapter 15, verse 17, "And they clothed him in a purple cloak, and twisting together a crown of thorns, they put it on him. And they began to mock him, 'Hail, King of the Jews.' And they were striking his head with a reed and spitting on him and kneeling down at homage to him. And when they mocked him, they stripped him of his purple cloak and put his own clothes on him, and they led to crucify him." The torture that they did to him before nailing him to the cross is literally like trying to get them as close as possible to death, but still keeping him alive to feel all of that pain. It's different than just having, a bullet to your head. It's literally this torture. Like, I want to give you guys a picture to think about. So, the rope that they would use to like beat him, they would literally put pieces of metal and glass and like different sharp objects into the rope, so that when they would hit his back and pull back, they're literally pulling up flesh as they're doing so. They then are going to crucify him to a tree. When they use the word crucify, it actually means to kill, to bind the hands and feet of someone and nail them to a cross. They nailed his hands into a tree, and his arms are spread wide, and his feet are like his feet are being hammered in with nails, and they're nailing him to a tree. You know, you have to think about, picture yourself, you have the gravity's weight here, kind of going against you here. Your arms are in a tree, are hammered into a tree. Your feet are hammered into a tree, and you can feel yourself being dragged down. You can feel that pressure of that nail in your hand. Like, I can't even wrap my mind around it. And the one thing that honestly, when I heard this the first time, I remember thinking, wow, that's the God we serve. When Jesus was up on that tree, dying for the world, dying for you, dying for me, dying for all of the sinners here, he said the words, "Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they are doing." Father, forgive them. As he has been tortured, as he is, like, his arms are on that tree, he is up there, and he says, Father, forgive them. Father, forgive Abigail. Father, forgive Johnny. Father, forgive Joseph. Father, forgive Mary. Father, forgive you. I don't know what your name is. So, Father, forgive you. Because I'm up here. I'm up on this tree because I wanted to die for you. Because I wanted to have a relationship with you, daughter, son. And that was the only way. That was the only way that he could save you. That was the only way that he could have a relationship with you, is if he had died for you. God of the universe sending down his son to conquer and defeat death. So Jesus has died, and they put him in a tomb. Here's the part that's miraculous, and here's the Jesus doesn't stay dead, and some of you guys might have heard this part. So Jesus does not stay dead, and here's the reason why. I recently had figured this out, and this makes a lot more sense to me. Jesus is literally life. Like, the essence of God is life. Life cannot exist in death. So when he died, he conquered death because he is life. He is life. He is life. He rises again from the dead and gives this free gift to you. This free gift of a relationship. This free gift of, you don't ever have to search. You don't ever have to try and be good enough, because he is already enough. He gives this grace to you as a gift, and you have to put your trust in him. Stop following the desires of your flesh, meaning, like I said earlier, the desire to be the ruler of your life. Give over that authority to him, because that is where it belongs. God gives this grace so freely to you, but there was a cost for it, a cost for him, that the death of his son on a tree. And because of that cost, he is able to give you everlasting life. We have all fallen short of the glory of God, every single one of us. But through the gift of Christ Jesus, through the sacrifice that he went on that cross, he is able to give you everlasting life. For all of those that believe in him and to put their trust into him. And that is the greatest love story. The greatest love story, that while we were still sinners, while we were at our ugliest place in our lives, God said, I love you so much that I want to die for you. I love you so much that I want to put my son on a tree so that he's crucified, so that he has to suffer, so that I can have a relationship with you. It's amazing. It blows my mind away every time. And I know that some of you guys that are watching this, you guys are like, I've heard this story over and over again. Or some of you guys are watching this and you guys are like, I have never heard this story. It is the most beautiful story of God coming after you. He is chasing you down. He wants a relationship with you so badly. Are you going to accept? Are you going to turn your eyes upon him? Are you going to turn away from yourself being the ruler of your life? And yeah, that is the greatest love story. that I will ever tell. And this is the reason why my channel exists. This is the reason why I'm here today. If it wasn't for Christ, I don't even know where I would be. And I know that you might have heard a lot of people say that, and you might think, oh, this is so dumb. I've heard this so many times. But I honestly do not have a clue where I would be. Ever since I've given my life to Christ, I have felt the most peace. I have felt the most joy. I have the joy of Christ when I'm in the worst circumstance possible. And if you're going, what the heck? I don't even understand that. Well, that's what happens when you give your life to Christ. I am honored to be able to share that with you guys. Like, in my head, I'm always thinking like, God, why me? Why did you choose me? And I'm honestly honored and humbled in the fact that He has chosen me to share this message with you. I hope that you guys have learned something from this video. I hope that you see the love of God and the love that God has for you, that He sent His Son to a tree to die for you. And I'm praying for each and every one of you guys, and I will see you guys all in my next video. Bye, guys.